So we're here live. This is Unnatural Selection, doing a live stream on election night, May the 3rd. Be with you, 2025.
Oh, yes. It's going to be a very interesting Star Wars day tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah. Will the Empire strike back? That is the main question. So we're just here observing Antony Green's final night in electoral politics. So for the Antony Green Day, happy Antony Green Day for those who celebrate. So we'll be the last one. So
he's been playing around with his giant television of numbers and stats and graphs, and he just couldn't. He looks more at home than I think I've ever felt, like, in any context.
Oh, well, what are they going to do? Fire him?
Yeah.
He's relaxed.
He can call whatever seat he wants.
He doesn't give a fuck. Braddon? Yeah, you can have Braddon.
Yeah, why not?
Meanwhile, Liberal Party flunky over here is just going, just wait for the pre-polls. Everyone stop freaking out. Liberal Party's not getting smashed. Okay, just wait for the pre-polls. Believe me.
You know what? Power to him. He's the only one I've seen kind of having any sense of optimism in this, of just being like, let's wait for the pre-polls, let's talk about blah. Like, they were interviewing James Patterson earlier.
James Patterson looked like his
already
dog died.
He was just doing a post-mortem already. Like, he was doing it. This is how the campaign went.
This is how it went, and this is, obviously we're going to have to do a review and, look at the game footage.
These are all the mistakes we made.
Yeah. Here's how we fucked up. It's like James Patterson is like ready to pass off this mortal coil. Yeah. Acting like the election's already lost.
And this was at 6:45.
Yes.
Like, they hadn't even called a single seat yet. They hadn't even got figures in yet. Like, this is before anything. I don't know where he's getting his info from, but he was like, this goose is cooked.
Yeah,
Stick a fork in it.
Shit's fucked. I've got a 7:30 dinner reservation, and I'm not sticking around for this.
Oh, okay. I just want to address what's currently on the screen, because fucking don't threaten me with a good time. Peter Dutton is trailing behind in his own seat. Just early counts. It's only 6% voted, counted, so these numbers can change, and wait for those postal votes. But holy crap, when I saw a breaking news alert come up being like, early swing against Peter Dutton in his own seat, I was like, don't do this to me. Is this what hope feels like?
Yeah, so there's been a kind of, look, in some places, like in Tassie, they were talking about, now granted, it's still early in the night, it's only 8 o'clock, and they were talking about a swing in some seats
polls
in Tasmania.
Just closed everywhere.
Polls have only just fully closed in Western Australia. So they're looking at a swing of, in some seats in Tasmania, of 10% against the coalition, which is like
brutal.
That's smashed. Yeah, to lose a historic loss, the amount of seats that they lost last election cycle, you would expect some sort of like reversion to the mean, right? Like they swing back towards, they're looking in Queensland, 5+ point swing against Liberals towards Labor. They said the worst state is Victoria, where they knew they were going to have a bunch of challenging races. The worst seat, the worst state is Victoria, because they've only had a 1% swing towards Labor.
Yeah. Just absolutely brutal. And I mean, for such a historic loss last time, to have a swing against them this time,
and to have a more of a swing against the Liberals
and
again
more of a swing
the next time
them,
round. Yeah,
on the precipice of like a recession.
Yes,
where things are like, with the whole thing, everything they've been banging on about for
with
weeks
the economy and cost of living.
Are you better off now than you were 3 years ago? Like, if you're not happy with your current situation, which a lot of people aren't, they were saying blame the government.
Yeah,
and people haven't blamed the government. They have a little bit, but it's wild to see. This is crazy. This feels like it's got to be historic.
Breaking news.
It's the same one from earlier. God, no, don't.
So I mean, if the polling I looked at, the last polling, the YouGov poll came out like several days ago, right? And that kind of showed like a 4-point swing against the Liberals nationally. If that's reflected in Peter Dutton's seat, Peter Dutton only holds Dickson, his home seat, by 2%. So if there's a 4% swing against him in his district, he loses his seat. I did not have Peter Dutton loses his seat in Parliament on my bingo card for tonight. I was looking at the prediction markets last night. Just people who bet on this stuff online.
The betting market.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they had Labor at a 96% chance to win. Liberals at like a, whatever, 4% or something like that, 3%, 4%, like, and even, the two-party, the preferred leader between Dutton and Albanese is like massive against Dutton. It's like Albanese's got a 16-point lead on a preferred prime minister polling against Dutton. Like, people really hate Dutton. And then you've also got, like, to the extent to which, like, prediction markets this evening are talking about who's going to replace Dutton as leader. Like, that's where the conversation has already started going, right? It's like, we assume they're not going to, like, it would be very difficult from where the Liberals are now for them to win enough seats to be able to form government. I just don't see it being possible. And meanwhile, old LNP mate over here is saying that, you just wait for the pre-poll. It's going to look pretty good for the Liberals. Like, let's not call anything just yet.
Nah, he knew he was in for the shit gig. Like, when you're, with how the polling's been going, and they always get one guy from Labor, one guy from Liberal, and put them on a panel together. You're in for a shit night.
When the person, the Liberal guy on the panel is like some fucking strategist who no one's ever heard of, and the guy on the Labor side is Jim Chalmers, the sitting treasurer.
The treasurer.
It's because they want Jim Chalmers on TV when they declare victory, right?
Yeah, of course.
Let's go to Olivia Casely, who's at the Liberal Party headquarters tonight in Brisbane. Liv, tell us, what's the feeling there at the moment about the way this is going tonight?
She's at Liberal HQ.
I'd love to be able to bring you some of the reaction among the Liberal Party faithful to these early swings we're seeing towards Labor, but the truth is I can't. Up until the past 10 minutes or so, there were very few Liberal supporters in this room. Indeed, this room was just filled with journalists.
Across to Jane Norman, who's at ALP headquarters in Sydney. How's the contrast? Liv just described a very quiet room at Liberal Party headquarters. How is it in Sydney?
A very loud room here, Sarah. I think the mood is buoyant. There's one of excitement and expectation building. You might not be able to
air horns
see because of where our
have
camera's
been
positioned, but there are hundreds of people in this room, all wearing their red T-shirts. They're kind of gathered to my left. But when we first arrived tonight, people were just pure anxiety. They were terribly anxious about the result, and they've certainly become more and more optimistic as the night has unfolded.
The AEC page for Dickson up, currently showing projected two-candidate preferred at 57% to Labor.
57%. Based on how many voted?
It doesn't say, but it's looking at this stage a 9.57% swing in that seat, which makes us Canada, if that's what's happening.
Sorry, Laura, did you say there was
43%?
43%.
So James McGrath, are you still confident your leader, Peter Dutton, will be in Parliament?
Yes. He's going to be homeless after this.
Gives you that confidence right now.
Getting all the pre-poll figures in. Let's wait for the
this pre-poll. The pre-poll figures.
Said, I think several times tonight, Dickson is always a tight seat.
Just on something you just said, James McGrath, Peter Dutton will remain leader as long as he wants to remain leader.
Yep.
Doesn't the party room get, after an election, doesn't the party room get a chance to say, hang on, if it's gone disastrously, we should have a say on who our leader should be?
Traditionally, from experience, I think that does happen, but the party room would strongly support Peter Dutton.
Even if it's a bad night?
Party room would strongly support Peter Dutton.
Yeah, whatever, buddy.
To the party room. They should stick with Peter Dutton, no matter how
bad. They have the full
this
faith and support of the...
My reading is the party room, and...
The party room's going to be like 8 people when Dutton's done with it.
Is the party room would strongly support Peter Dutton. Peter has done a good job keeping us together.
Is that based on conversations with your colleagues about that? Have you actually talked about
Well, no, because no one's actually talking about it because we've been focusing on Labor.
How do you know?
I've been in politics a long time. You don't get to look like this by not being in politics.
Explain to us this reading of people without talking
because
about
we've been focused on the Labor Party and focused on the Greens and focused on the
David Spears, so cunty, love it.
You're reading people and you're confident that no matter what, they'll stick with Dutton.
Totally.
But you've never had a conversation with them, and you don't think you should have a conversation.
There's no need to have conversations because the party room for 3 years has been so strongly behind Peter.
Anthony Green's got something important for us.
Turns out
it's important. I can't see how the coalition wins from here. Everything I'm seeing...
that does sound important.
Yeah,
don't let me interrupt you.
Is that
they've just gone backwards everywhere. I can't see. It is bad news everywhere for them. There's seats all over the country, all over the eastern states. They're losing.
Oh, Anthony.
They're behind in.
I think I'm going to come.
Music to my ears.
No, they need to get 19 seats for majority government. They need to gain 10 seats for Labor. They're currently in the process of losing 12 to 15.
Yep. You're saying Labor has won, either in a minority or a majority government.
For pre-poll to turn around from here, they'd have to have a lot of loaves and fishes, I think. I think it's a big swing that's on at the moment. I can't see how it turns around.
They need a miracle, is what he's saying.
I'll put the caveat on. I'm a bit limited by the numbers, but
is
it's
that some
just
lingo? I don't know.
This could be a big win for Labor, but it's certainly a win.
It's certainly a win for Labor. I think we can take that as Anthony calling it as a win of some sort for Labor tonight.
I just wanted to say something about the Liberal leadership. I don't pretend, obviously, to be an expert on that, and I don't intend to dance on Peter Dutton's grave. I think the big missing part of this story we're talking about tonight is Angus Taylor. And so many of the issues that the Liberal Party campaign had can be traced back to Angus. And so I think we need to be careful as we go through this result, cautiously and conservatively as we continue to do. Obviously, Peter Dutton did not have a good campaign, but the main alternative, Angus Taylor, arguably had a campaign which was at least as bad, if not worse.
I just want to bring James McGrath in there. I mean, it's a big call to say that Angus Taylor has to carry a large part of this loss, isn't it?
I think we're all getting ahead of ourselves. You know, looking at the figures in relation to Petrie and a number of the seats in Queensland. The pre-poll figures are still coming in. The seat of Dickson is obviously very, very tight, but a number of these other seats, those pre-poll figures are still coming in. So I think we just need to still be calm in relation to where these seats are going to end up.
Right, well,
James pre-poll McGrath.
Well, the story at the moment is the opposition leader seated of Dickson. At this stage, Peter Dutton is on track to lose his seat. Now, I think I can... let me see. I think they've got the seat ready for me. Dickson, 32% of the vote counted.
And it's not even close.
Nearly all of the on-the-day votes. Labor's ahead on 34. Peter Dutton's on 30. The independent Ellie Smith is on 13. We believe that Ali France will win Dickson.
All right, there you go.
Wow.
Anthony Green's called it.
They're
James
calling
McGrath,
it.
a massive
They're calling Dickson.
of the leader.
They're
Your
calling
response?
Dixon.
I think...
James McGrath looks like he's shell-shocked.
We respect Antony Green. The seat of Dickson is
if he says pre-poll, I'm going to have to drink.
As Antony Green said, this is on the day figures.
You have to drink if he says pre-poll.
It's a repudiation,
pre-poll, there it is.
nonetheless.
Did you think you'd sit here tonight and watch Peter Dutton lose his seat?
No. No, I thought we were a chance, and I thought Ali France in particular gave us a red-hot chance, but I thought it was 50-50 at best.
This is so great.
I mean, like, yes, there's a long way to go, and yes, we'll be yelling at Labor to do the fucking right thing on so many damn policies that we have to drag them kicking and screaming into doing, as we always have to. But right now, it's just so great to see the coalition just be absolutely kicked in the balls,
Just shattered.
repeatedly.
You love to see it.
You love to see it. And the Dutton lost his seat. Like, it's one thing to have a huge indictment on the party, to be like, just to be categorically rejected.
Just kicked in the balls, yeah.
And then also to let's just twist the knife one more time.
Bennelong.
Absolutely.
ALP's
Wow.
retained Bennelong by a hefty margin. Look at that. 46% to 33. That's
holy shit, that's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah, just to twist the knife and get rid of Dutton at the same time.
A 10.3% swing away from the Libs towards Labor in Bennelong. That's correct. I've never seen anything like that. This is like, Bennelong is like the famous razor's edge seat. You know what I mean? Like,
is this what hope feels like?
I don't know.
Like, are we seeing society healing?
Nature's healing, Tom.
Yeah, becoming less shit. Like, I mean, it's like
the
what
Bennelong seat, that candidate had a lot of issues. I remember there was like a bunch of negative news stories around what was it? It was like his wife's business or something like that. This is the Asian guy who was on Four Corners this week. Again, yeah, Banks, again, one of those marginal seats, 6.3% swing from Labor, from the Liberals to Labor. So that's an MP, David Coleman, getting turfed.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything like this. Like, I really thought this was going to be like a reversion to the mean election, where it was like, okay, the Labor had a big win last time around. They pulled a bunch of seats away from the coalition, and it's going to naturally swing back to the coalition, right? Like, it's going to return to normal and to go even further. They reckon they're talking about 15. The coalition's going to lose another 12 to 15 seats. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, like this is
Hughes.
Yeah,
ALP's looking like it's going to win Hughes, 38.5 to 37.4. So,
and I mean, we were talking about back in December, we were talking about like, oh fuck, like Dutton's going to win, isn't he? Like, it's not
9% swing to the ALP.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
Like all this stuff of that it was looking really bad for the Labor Party, and that like Labor was gaining ground, and we were all staring down the barrel of the idea of a Peter Dutton prime ministership.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a fucking
seemed like a real possibility.
It makes you wonder, like, how the fuck did it turn around this fast? And I reckon they're right. It's Trump.
Trump is definitely a big part of it. So I'm writing an article.
I think seeing them latch on to that. Like they latched on to, like, it's not that Dutton himself is like Trump in any way as a person. Like, you can see the difference. But that they latched onto the same culture war-y bullshit and think that like shitting on trans people will fix all their constituents' problems, or at least that's what they're selling them.
So there's definitely, I think that's definitely a big part of it, right? Like, I think Dutton saw what happened in the election in November in the United States and thought that seems like a pretty good playbook, and more or less lifted
Felt emboldened.
Was really emboldened and just kind of lifted the whole thing. He thought we're in a situation where incumbents are losing worldwide. Cost of living is really hitting people. I think they got overconfident and they got cocky, and they're like, let's start fucking hitting them on culture war shit. And they really tied their talking points, the way they were speaking about, the Labor Party was the way that Trump was speaking about the Democrats. Like, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Cost of living, all these culture war issues. Even, Dutton was standing next to Jacinta Price, who he named his Department of Government Efficiency czar, right?
Who's going to be our Doge.
And she was saying, make Australia great again. And as, photos of her wearing a MAGA cap. Like, they really tie themselves. And what's happened is, in the last 3 months, is Trump has become a politically toxic figure, not just globally, but also in the United States. Like, if you look at his opinion polls, no leader in modern history has taken the kind of approvals dive that Trump has taken over the last 3 months. It's never happened before, where it's literally a parabola that goes straight fucking down. Like, it's crazy.
Which is nuts, given were they not paying attention to like the last 8 years? Like, that should have tanked his popularity. But anyway. No,
but so Dutton saw the the thumping that Trump gave Kamala Harris and thought, well, that's a great playbook. We'll just use that. And
that looks great. Conservatism's popular again.
And all that sort of stuff. But you see what's happening in, with Trump's trade war, with, renditioning people to El Salvador, with like, these are incredibly unpopular things. And then you've got Michaelia Cash explicitly going out there and saying,
Trump's great.
Trump's a man of action.
Trump with Dutton.
And people will see the same thing under a Dutton government, and people are looking at that going, oh, that doesn't sound
That's
good.
not what we want.
I like my government services to work, please.
Yeah, while there's some crazy intense, like, ultra right-wing nut bars here in Australia, we've talked about them at length in our show.
There was like 4 of them on the ballot this year.
Like, still so much of Australia looks at what's going... Like, while we have all our stuff where you will meet some really right-wing people in Australia, but we seem all pretty consistent with, oh, my God, are you seeing what's happening in the States? Shit's fucked. Like, even the most, like, right-wing people here are still like, that's nuts.
It is rare that you will find a person here, like...
Yeah, like, we hate poor people, but we shouldn't be shipping anyone ethnic to El Salvador.
We don't send them to forever prisons. Well, I mean, we do. We just, but
well, we do,
people,
just before they get
migrants.
here. Before they fucking get here.
It is pretty crazy. I mean, they're calling that liberal leader Peter Dutton has lost his seat. They literally called it.
They're calling it. Oh, God. To be a fly on the wall in this velvet roped place that this journalist for the ABC is talking about in the Liberal HQ, where apparently all of Peter Dutton's supporters are the supporters in the room with us right now. Do they even exist? So far, the only name we've heard dropped is Christian Porter and Tony Abbott. Oh, man, what a party that is. God, geez, cover your drinks while you're in that room.
I mean, there's a Trump effect, which definitely is part of it. And this is literally exactly what I'm putting into this article, which I now need to publish immediately. But you know, another part of it was that, you know, Labor ran a decent campaign. They were tight on the message. Like Louise Milligan on Four Corners was talking about how, you know, they were very, very regimented in terms of the press and where they were going and who they could talk to. And you rarely had a moment in this campaign. There was one that I could think of, which was the pro-Palestinian protester yelling at Anthony Albanese this week. Aside from that, you haven't really had a lot of instances where he gets caught out speaking to the wrong person and someone, you know, like that sort of stuff tends to happen on campaigns. You haven't seen it with Labor. They've run a very disciplined campaign. Their social media was pretty good. You know, lots of like millennial sort of meme fodder, you know, like there was one today, which was Star Wars.
Pretty awful AI slop, but yeah.
The AI slop I didn't like, and I think they kind of like course corrected from that. There was an AI cat video, which early on, which kind of set the tone, and they're like, yeah, okay, we're not doing that anymore.
I think we've got Northern Territory Senator Jacinta Price.
Oh, let's hear from Jay Price. How's it going,
Peter Dutton tonight has lost his seat. With your embrace of Donald Trump, make Australia great again.
Do you reckon you fucking shot your party in the foot?
Oh, that's a big call, don't you think? I mean, you sling enough mud in an election, it sticks. And we did see a Prime Minister who absolutely misled the Australian people all the way through and was rarely called out for his conduct. And I think that's absolutely deceitful.
But Jacinta, let's just talk about this. Let's just talk about this seriously. At a time when Donald Trump was sending shockwaves around the world.
I'm talking about it seriously.
It's not a smear campaign. I just want you to address it seriously, Jacinta. At the time that Donald Trump was sending shockwaves around the world, disturbing.
So if you don't think that I'm addressing this seriously, I am addressing this deadly seriously, in that if you sling enough mud, it will stick. And absolutely, Labor, certainly the media, slung enough mud.
It's the lamestream media. It's the lamestream media, Tom.
Donald Trump. We really couldn't care less about
it all about Donald Trump.
Bro, you were wearing a MAGA hat. What are you talking about, Jacinta?
You made it about Donald Trump.
But Jacinta Price, we all saw you.
The situation's not going to get any better going forward. It's not going to get any better.
Let's just talk about this sensibly, Jacinta. We saw you wearing a Make Australia Great Again hat at a time when Donald Trump was poison to the world. We saw you give a speech in which you used
look at these nodding guys next to it.
Value statement to make Australia great again.
Yeah, I don't care how impressive that beard is. It's not.
Are you partly responsible for what the Liberal Party has suffered tonight and Peter Dutton's loss of his seat?
Let me come back to the question. That's a whole lot of mud you just slung right there.
Oh, shut
fuck off, Jacinta.
In terms of wanting this country to be great.
Kind of looks like the guy behind her is agreeing with Sarah Ferguson. He kept nodding when she was talking.
Because the media can go through your personal Facebook photos and find a picture that was taken in jest at Christmas time.
It was
and
Christmas.
Then smear you with it.
A Christmas smear. You literally said "Make Australia Great Again" in front of Peter Dutton this week.
Certainly within the media,
in a press conference.
Just as you're trying to say, take this seriously. I'm deadly serious about this issue, and what I'm deadly serious about is that here in Lingiari, Aboriginal people are going to continue to be marginalised. The gap is going to get wider because we take an ideological approach to all of these issues, and Labor will continue to do that. They'll invest money in organisations and not listen to the little people on the ground. But I'll continue to fight for those people who actually want to be heard, those forgotten people where Labor, and you know, if you want to take things seriously, perhaps send an investigative journalist out and watch what occurs in remote polling booths. The AEC has been alerted to this over and over.
Is she claiming election
very
fraud?
Little to deal with that situation. I urge the ABC, as a taxpayer-funded organisation, to go out to remote communities and see for yourself exactly what occurs.
Oh, fuck off, Jacinta. fuck
the
off,
situation.
Claiming election
And
fraud.
Fuck off, cunt.
Right now,
She's trying to do some
cost of
big lie
living,
bullshit.
It's only going to get worse going forward. But what I do know is that if you sling enough mud in a campaign, it sticks. And if you mislead
So was it the
Australian
mudslinging
people
or was it
over
the fraud?
again, that's what the Prime
Yeah,
Minister
what
has
was
done.
it?
That's what sticks.
All right, Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, thanks for your time tonight.
That's disgusting. The comment about
like calling the election's integrity into question.
It's classic. It's so funny. She repudiates the analogy to Trump, and then literally does a Trump big lie attempted.
Yeah,
she doesn't come out and say directly that the election was stolen, but you're saying, oh, you should come out and send an investigative journalist to see the things that are happening in these ballot boxes out in remote communities. It's like, well, motherfucker, Brisbane is not a remote community. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's ballots we're talking about a 5 to 10% swing across the country. Safe Liberal seats getting tooketh the fuck out. You know, like this is not someone stuffed a ballot box in outer Alice Springs when no one was looking. Like this is a mathematical impossibility. Like fuck, that is such dodgy, like classic Trump horseshit. See you never, Jacinta. I look forward to you never being part of the fucking national conversation again, you fucking irrelevant piece of shit.
Yeah, jeez.
Fuck off.
Yeah, my God.
That's disgusting. That's the most disgusting thing. I'm speechless. That's the worst thing I've seen in Australian politics. And I'm talking about Australian politics. where what's his name, likes to sink a couple of frothies, James Ashby wiped blood on Pauline Hanson's door in Parliament. Do you remember that?
No, wasn't it on the other guy's door?
Oh, it was on the other guy's door.
There was he had a fist fight with another senator. I forget who it was.
Malcolm
and
Roberts?
There was blood on his office. No. It wasn't a One Nation person, I don't think.
Or someone else. The blood on the door, the desk wanker. This is the worst thing I've seen in Australian politics, was what Jacinta Price is just saying there. That's fucking crazy. That is a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, trying to bring in the big lie.
That's disgusting.
Thing.
Having seen how corrosive it's been to the American discourse, it's been years since January 6th where there have been think pieces, there have been articles, there have been books about the corrosive effect of the big lie on American politics, and to try and sideways, fucking sideload that app into the Australian fucking, software is just disgusting. I have there is no figure in Australian politics I revile more than Jacinta Price after that. That's so gross.
Oh, I'm just keeping an eye on all the other people I don't like in the Liberal Party and whether or not they've lost. Oh, here we go.
Dutton speaks.
Dutton.
We love you, Peter. We're the only ones.
Yeah, you didn't love him enough.
One of the great honours of being the leader of this party is that we have met people from every side, every corner, the length and breadth of this country. And there are many amazing stories. People who have sacrificed, people who are doing it hard at the moment. And I've always wanted in public life for the best for our country and the best for every Australian. The highlight of my career has been as the Defence Minister, and over the course of
unless they're woke
campaign,
leftards.
On Anzac Day, we caught up with young veterans in Townsville at the RSL, and it reminded me of how lucky we are as a country. And I want to acknowledge all of those men and women in uniform who keep us safe as a country. Now, we didn't do well enough during this campaign. That much is obvious tonight, and I accept full responsibility for that. Earlier on, I called the Prime Minister to congratulate him on his success tonight. It's an historic occasion for the Labor Party, and we recognise that. I congratulated the Prime Minister and wished he and Jody and Nathan all the very best. And I said to the Prime Minister that his mum would be incredibly proud of his achievement tonight, and he should be very proud of what he's achieved. Thank you.
Which is bollocking me and all my friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone I know.
Humpty Dumpty off the wall.
I also had the pleasure of speaking with Ali France, and Ali and I have been combatants for a number of elections now, but she was successful in Dickson tonight, and she will do a good job as a local member. She lost her son Henry, which is a tragic circumstance that no parent should ever go through. And equally, I said to To Ali, her son Henry would be incredibly proud of her tonight, and she'll do a good job as a local member for Dickson, and I wish her all the very best, please.
Okay.
Is he showing feeling?
Yeah.
There's feelings.
Are these feelings I'm seeing from Peter Dutton?
It's been
I
a
wasn't
great
aware he
honour
was
to be
capable.
leader of this amazing party for the last 3 years. I also want to say a very, very big thank you tonight, most importantly, to the millions of Australians who have supported the Liberal Party, the coalition. It's not our night, as I point out, and there are good members, good candidates who have lost their seats or their ambition, and I'm sorry for that. We have an amazing party and we'll rebuild. Ultimately, we live in the best country in the world, and I've always believed that. I always will. I love this country and I've fought hard for it. We've been defined by our opponents in this election, which is not the true story of who we are. But we'll rebuild from here. We'll do that because we know our values, we know our beliefs, and we'll always stick to them. I want to say thank you to the Australian people for the faith they've placed in me, and thank them for the great honour of having been the member for Dickson and the leader of the opposition. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I mean,
fuck off, cunt.
Maybe I wouldn't stick to those beliefs and those convictions so hard, mate, because doing that just got you whipped in the ass.
That's all right. Dutton can go back to his go back to his true calling, being a piece of shit landlord. So
being a multi-millionaire. Man, you got so much more time now, Peter, to buy your son a house. He said he was struggling, and you've got like $40 million just around. So
The figure cited from Yahoo is that Dutton's family is worth $300 million.
300. Oh wow! Holy shit! Sorry.
So there was stuff on Four Corners that
40 at some point,
that talked about so there was stuff that came out. I think it was this week from Four Corners that talked about his how much he made in selling. There was stuff to do with childcare centers, and there was also buying and selling properties where they made whatever it was, 15-20 million over the last 15 years, which he didn't declare.
Oh, of course, naturally.
Yeah, declared all his share purchases, but obviously didn't declare when he bought banking shares in the GFC. But neglected to mention the $15 million that he made buying and selling other shit over the lifetime of his membership of Parliament. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of... So Adam, you missed it, but Jacinta Price was talking about election fraud earlier and saying the whole thing was a media smear campaign.
I did get some text messages from some friends who pointed that out, which... I mean, she's not she's noted a few times that she's, it's not about Trump, but these are things that Trump has said...
Oh, the having a Department of Government Efficiency and saying things like "Make Australia Great Again" in front of Peter Dutton, and she goes, "It was a joke. It was a Christmas joke. Me wearing the MAGA hat, and they could go into my personal Facebook feed and do a media smear." I was like, "Those are public photos. They can't sneak into your face. You've posted it on Facebook.
Yeah,
a photo of you wearing a MAGA hat. So someone's gonna go and find that." And because that's obviously relevant, Jacinta. And then she was saying things about dodgy. You're going to need to send an investigative journalist out into the outback. There's dodgy things happening with ballot boxes out here, sort of thing. And I was like, well, okay. You're trying to pull some election fraud, Trump big lie nonsense. What are you saying, Jacinta?
It is.
Oh, gross.
I
so fucking gross.
I suspect she'll go back into the. Assuming she doesn't lose a seat, I haven't seen what her count is. But
no, she's a senator. She's not up this time round, I don't think.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think she's up for re-election this time. She'll be the next batch of senators.
I'm assuming she'll go back into the Senate and be sort of put on the public speaking backlist.
Well, she can go back to being a kids' party entertainer.
And they'll probably bring her out every so often for some Indigenous issues, but I don't know if she'll be front and centre like she was for The Voice and for
this is what I said to Tom. I said I look forward to never fucking hearing from her again.
Yeah.
Oh, you never say never. Again. Never say never. But yeah, it is.
Adam, I'm deadly serious about this. Okay, I'm being extremely serious when I talk about this. You're saying I'm not serious? I'm deadly serious.
This poor chap. I don't know. I can't remember his name.
James McGrath. Yeah.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad for him. He's a real piece of shit, from what I've been hearing.
James, wait for the pre-polls, McGrath.
Yeah,
he's just looking so tired.
Just
like me. Just looking so worn out.
Increasingly wretched as the night wears on. And it's getting later and later. He goes, you just got to wait for the pre-polls. And they're like, we're counting the pre-polls. The Libs are getting smashed everywhere. All the time, everywhere, all at once. He's like, you just got to hold. You just got to wait for the pre-polls.
So like, do you expect Peter Dutton will take full responsibility? And he's like, I don't know. Like,
responsibility for what? He hasn't lost. We have still got to wait for
it is
the
a bit
pre-polls.
hard because he's the only Liberal person on this panel. I mean, they've got one of each, I guess. So
Jim Chalmers is the only Labor guy on the panel. Like, yeah, he was given a shit gig. I said this earlier. I was like, yeah, if you're the Liberal guy on an election panel tonight, you've got the short straw.
They're just battering him with questions. Jim Chalmers then ripped into Angus Taylor and said he was the dumb
They're raising income taxes before an election was the dumbest thing he'd ever seen in politics.
Ever seen in his life. I was like, that is...
Which, it was... And the reason they're going to town on Angus Taylor is because he's the default next opposition leader, right? Because he's the treasurer and he's like the next most popular... Not popular, the next most known figure in the coalition. Then they're thinking, okay, well, he's like... I think the betting markets had Angus Taylor as the favourite to take over after Dutton. So... Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Jesus, that's grim. Angus, well done, great job, Angus Taylor. Fuck.
Yeah, that is a serious dearth of political talent that the coalition is experiencing.
So just in some other stuff, David Pocock has been re-elected.
Nice. We like Pocock. He's good.
He smashed it. Something like 42% of the vote. Currently, which is insane. So that's good news. I'm still keeping an eye on Goldstein. If Tim Wilson comes back, I'll be ropeable. Absolutely ropeable.
Are they they're going to increase their majority?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Adam. They've not only have the Labor won. They've also picked up, Antony Green was saying he reckons they're going to pick up 12 seats. They haven't lost a single seat to the Libs. They lost one to an independent, one to a Green, and all the rest they've picked up from Greens or Libs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Labor's looking at an 82. You need, what was it, 73 seats for a majority?
76.
They're projecting 82 seats for a Labor. It's not just a Labor majority. It's looking like a Labor super majority. They're going to be able to change the constitution.
This is crazy. Like, looking at on the ABC's list of seats changing, they are all changing from Lib or Nationals to something else.
I see red.
So has Labor lost any seats to the Greens? That's interesting.
I think they lost one to the
lost
Greens.
One.
Yeah. The last I saw.
Potentially.
Well, Greens have gone back to, I guess they're still counting, but looking at the...
I'm sad that Max Chandler-Maher lost his seat. He lost it to Labor, but even so, he seemed like a good egg, and it's sad that he lost.
They seem to have earlier.
I think he was a good egg, but he was probably too left, to be honest. Like, there's too much protest.
Him getting up with the CFMEU was a bad move, and
there was too much hero of the Soviet Union coming out of him. But intelligent guy.
Smart guy, donated a big chunk of his salary to home, like a food pantry or something in his electorate. He seemed like a really decent guy, but.
And when they went on the housing policy, he just went way too hard. Like, just take the concessions you got, take the win, bank it, sell that win, rather than
with the housing future fund. You mean that they got an extra?
And just
whatever. It was.
They got some extra stuff, but they argued the point for months, and then eventually just gave into it.
But don't forget, that is kind of the purpose of the Greens. The Greens know they're not going to govern a majority.
Not to drag out a policy, not to drag it out for 2 years, though, George.
The point of the Greens is to be essentially activists within Parliament that draw Labor Party to the left, right? They know they're not going to get free dental and mental into Medicare, but if they keep pushing it, keep pressing the point, maybe 10 psychological sessions goes to 20 You know what I mean? Like they're essentially an activist group, and I think they know that, right?
But they want they've been an activist group since the 70s when they first founded. The point being is they want to have more power, right, in Parliament. That's what they're after. To get more power, they need to evolve with and become. They can still be ideologically where they're at, but they need to pick their battles a bit more. I feel like this last term of Parliament, they were just hammering stuff and looking like the Greens Party of old, which some people like, and that's fair enough.
But only 15% of people like. Yeah.
And this is the thing, and then unfortunately, Max Chandler May, is it May or May?
Mayer or something.
Mayer, yeah. He was the front man for all of it, right?
Yes, yeah, he was very front and center, yeah.
He was front and center, and now he's lost his fucking seat, by the sounds of it, if that's true, which is, unfortunate. So, I don't know, I just think strategically the Greens need to get smarter.
Yeah, the ABC stats are looking interesting sort of on that. I was looking at seats that are currently...
Labor projected to win the seat of Hughes for the first time in 30 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Insane.
The fact that my seat of Casey is even close with Labor slightly leading is crazy. I've never seen Casey go Labor in my life in 35 years. Like, I'm not aware of it ever going to anyone except the Libs, right? Casey, Deakin, Aston, all of these outer eastern seats are always very like ex-urban coalition. They've been closer in recent years, but I wouldn't describe them as marginal seats. I describe them as like safe-ish Liberal seats. Yeah. And to be losing them is fucking crazy. Yeah, that's nuts.
So it'd be interesting to see I'd be interested to see what the total swing is to or from the Greens. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm looking at right now.
We know there's a big swing to Labor, but like how does that sit with the other parties, the other major players in Parliament? If there is a potential crossbench, like what does that look like?
Antony Green's going to the board, so we might find out. Hang on, here we go.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's have a look at those. Should we start with Bass, Bridget Archer's
Tassie.
of Bass in the
Tassie? It was like 10% to Tassie.
Launceston. She's up against
10% swing.
Teasdale, a teacher in Launceston.
They've been pork barreling so hard in those seats.
In the Northern Territories, moved back to Tasmania. This was the ejector seat. Bridget Archer broke the rules last time by managing to get re-elected, but not this time. 40% Labor, 30%
and Bridget Archer was the maverick. The maverick who cut against Dutton.
Loss of Liberal vote.
Wow.
The One Nation, by the look
Jess
of that.
Tesdale, 40%. Bridget Archer, 30%. Greens, 13%.
Swing here. There is a
10%
swing. Now, that might
10.5% swing to Labor.
That's a double-digit swing.
60-40. That's a fucking.
All right, let's go to Braddon, to Anne.
Holy cow.
Where the Labor candidate was Anne Urquhart.
Yeah, and Anne Urquhart's given up a Senate seat to run here, and she was a long-term, so she resigned a seat which she holds for another 3 years. But Anthony Albanese is urging. Gavin Pearce is the retiring member. Mal Hingston is the new Liberal candidate, but he's not going to be the new Liberal member for Braddon. It will be Anne Urquhart, transferring from the upper house.
Oh, shit.
She's on 38.9. The Liberal vote has crashed by 13% on first preferences on 31.
Look at that.
We got over half of the vote counted. Let's look at the two-party preferred swing here. 15%. So something's going on in Tasmania.
The panel gasps.
I'll let you do this.
Well, there is no blue on the semicircle.
And now let's look at lines.
It only goes up to
15%.
Here's the big one.
State. And Brian Mitchell's going at this election.
Rebecca White is the former Labor leader for state.
Up against Susie Bauer.
And Rebecca White, she's led the poll in
Smashed
Lions
it.
at the last three state
fucking
elections.
hell. 40%, 43.5% to 25% Liberal.
Couldn't get Premier, but now she's the member, for federal member.
Down on first preferences. Look at the two-party preferred swing here. Another double-digit.
10% swing, double-digit swings.
Extraordinary results in Tasmania. These are just amazing results.
What's going on with Wilkie?
So, should we bring in Cosentoni here? Because
we'll just do one more.
One more. This is,
one more.
Franklin, down the bottom of the state. This is the one where Labor was in
that's Franklin.
Wilkie's got his.
The independent Peter George.
And I think they still are
70
in trouble,
to 30.
We'll just, I think we'll look at the first preferences.
Bang. Look at that.
I think we'll stay there.
38% to Labor.
Winner for this. Julie Collins 38, Peter George 23, the Liberals 17, Greens 11. Now Peter George,
One Nation.
Liberals are third
to the Labor Party, so that will make it tougher for.
They're
Peter
in a similar
George
range
to
as the
close
Greens.
15% gap, even if you give them all the Liberal votes, all the Green votes. Sorry, that still puts them behind Labor. And even if just a reasonable split of Liberal preferences would re-elect Julie Collins. So she's had a bit of a scare, but at this stage, I think she's been re-elected.
Tell us about Tassie, Adam. That's pretty nuts, right? You're from Tassie.
Yeah. So look, it has swung a bit. Like back in the day,
double-digit swings, mate.
were Labor seats, and then
back in the day.
Yeah, sure. They've been Liberal seats for a while. Yeah. Bridget Archer, as you said, was the sort of maverick Liberal MP, was well liked. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously one of these things where when you vote, you're not just voting. You can vote for different things. You can vote for the party, the leader, or you can vote for like your local member. And if either one of those things if people don't like it, they'll vote against it, right?
They know who the leader of the party is. They're not fooled. All right, Penny Wong's talking. It looks like Albo's about to come out.
My fellow Australians. Serving as your Prime Minister is the greatest honour of my life. And it is with a deep sense of humility and a profound sense of responsibility that the first thing that I do tonight is to say thank you to the people of Australia for the chance to continue to serve the best nation on earth.
Can't say that. Sweden's pretty good.
I hear the Norwegians are very happy.
And I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet.
Who are?
And I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging today and every day.
Depending where he is in Sydney.
Today, the Australian people have voted for Australian values. For fairness, aspiration and opportunity for all. For the strength to show courage in adversity and kindness to those in need.
Yeah.
And Australians have voted for a future that holds true to these values. A future built on everything that brings us together as Australians and everything that sets our nation apart from the world. In this time of global uncertainty, Australians have chosen optimism and determination. Australians have chosen to face global challenges the Australian way, looking after each other while building for the future.
Adam, do you actually want to fuck Anthony Albanese?
And to serve these values.
There were posters at our polling booth that had him in glasses and not in glasses.
Get a man who looks at you the way Jim Chalmers looks at Anthony Albanese.
Stronger future. Australians have chosen a majority Labor government.
Oh, bro looks like he's about to cry.
Yeah, he seems he's feeling pretty emotional. I mean, like, you know,
you won, buddy. You crushed it.
It's definitely the biggest, like, you know, when you feel validated in doing good work, like, this is the biggest validation you can possibly get.
It's like my dad saying, I'm proud of you, I imagine.
Yeah.
He's choked up. He's like he's drinking water. It's like he's about to cry.
The Australian people have got the name. A majority Labor government promised and delivered.
That's the clip for the news right there.
A short time ago, I spoke with Peter Dutton, who has, of course, conceded defeat. And I thanked him. No. What we do in Australia is we treat people with respect.
Unless, of course, they're Peter Dutton.
Pete for his generous words at the end
morning
of
to
what
everyone
has been
except Peter
a very
Dutton.
hard-fought campaign. And I want to take this opportunity to wish Peter and Kiralee and their family
happy
all
retirement.
the very best for their future.
May I never hear from you ever again.
Yeah, they got tens of millions of dollars. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
Now, at election time, parties and candidates ask people to make
You'll
a
definitely
choice.
hear from me. You'll be on every
And
fucking
inevitably,
conservative
the
media
campaign
outlet.
and the
The
coverage
kingdom
is
come
about
now.
our differences and our
you're right.
disagreements. That is the nature of our democracy, and it
Might
is the
replace
role
Tony.
of the media who serve it. But now that the Australian people have made their clear choice, let us all reflect on what we have in common. Because no matter who you voted for, no matter where you live,
And statistically,
no matter how you
it's probably
worship
us.
or who you love, whether you belong to a culture that has known and cared for this great continent for 65,000 years, or you have chosen our nation as your home and enriched our society with your contribution, we are all Australians. So let all of us work together to build our national unity on the enduring foundations of fairness, equality, and respect for one another. My fellow Australians, I know the world has thrown a lot at our country over the past 3 years. I know so many of you have worked hard in the face of significant challenges. And I know there's still much more to do to help people under pressure. That is why it means so much that in these uncertain times, the people of Australia have placed their trust in Labor once again, including so many Australians who have voted Labor for the first time. I make this solemn pledge. We will not forget that. We will never take it for granted. Repaying your trust will drive our government each and every day of the next 3 years. The positive program we took to this election was shaped by the Australian people's priorities. And our government will dedicate the next 3 years to making a positive difference to your lives and to your future, bringing the rewards for your hard work within reach, investing in our youngest Australians, looking after older Australians, and building an economy and a society that is every bit as strong and fair, as resilient and generous as Australians are themselves. From tomorrow, back at work. Maybe not everyone here. And that's probably for the best.
Because we're getting shit-faced, boys.
We take up this task.
I see you over there, puking in the bin.
New confidence and new determination. Because together we are turning the corner, and together we will make our way forward with no one held back and no one left behind.
Ooh. That's going to come back to bite him.
Friends, I was raised to be an optimist. My mum had a hard life and we struggled financially.
Single mum America.
But she taught me to always be positive and see the best in people. When it comes to Australia's future, all of us have so much reason to be optimistic. Because when we look at everything going on around the world today, when we consider the changes that will shape the future of the global economy, when we think about our people and their smarts and skills, truly there's nowhere else you'd rather be than right here in Australia. This is a time of profound opportunity for our nation. We have everything we need to seize this moment and make it our own. And we must do it together, all of us, because for Australia
Including
to
the Senate.
realise our full potential, for our nation to be its very best, every Australian must have the opportunity to be
Interesting to see what's happening in the Senate.
To serve our Australian values, we must value every
data on that, Tom?
Australian, and Labor will govern for every Australian.
We're having a largest majority in the world if you can't fucking pass anything.
Every Australian who wants a fair go at work, fair wages for their work, and the right to disconnect when they're done with work. Every Australian who deserves the security of a roof over their head or dreams of owning their own home. Every woman who wants her contribution to our economy and society to be valued equally. Every parent who wants their child to get the best start in life with cheaper childcare and with fair funding for every student in every school. Everyone who counts on the National Disability Insurance Scheme. We will be a government for every Australian who wants to train or retrain for new skills and a good job at public TAFE. Every Australian who works hard for the life-changing opportunity of higher education and wants 20% cut from their student debt.
Gotta pump those numbers up, Albo. Rob, should have been higher.
Every Australian who knows that climate change is a challenge we must act together to meet for the future of our environment.
Can you tell Tanya Plibersek that? That'd be nice.
And knows the fact that renewable energy is an opportunity we must work together to seize for the future of our economy.
Again, can you tell Tanya Plibersek that? I'm seeing all these new gas and coal projects.
He's
not going to be telling Tanya Plibersek shit. She's in the fridge.
First Nations people.
Yeah, I don't know if she'll continue in cabinet. Maybe.
Because we will be a stronger nation when we close the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. And friends, we will be a government that relies and helps every Australian who relies on Medicare.
By adding dental?
Because this card...
Show us the number, Anthony, you coward. Show us your Medicare number, mate.
It doesn't work as well if you don't, show the whole card.
It is not Labor red or Liberal blue. It is green and gold.
Yeah.
Right.
It is a declaration of our national values in our national colours. Medicare belongs to all Australians, and together we will make it stronger for all Australians.
How much he prepared
Friends, I stand here tonight as the proud leader of an extraordinary team.
I wonder how long he took.
I stood
You have speechwriters.
on the hallowed turf of the G this morning, doing live crosses, making that point. I want to thank all of my colleagues, beginning with my friend, our incredible Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles. No one could hope for a better deputy, and I thank him so much. My friend and our Senate leader, Penny Wong, and her deputy, Deputy.
Treasurer's getting pushed back a bit. The list of
Her deputy, Don Farrell.
Who?
Our economic team led by Jim Chalmers and Katie Gallagher.
Oh, wow. And they brought him up on the feed in the corner there before he said that. Have they got this speech in advance?
They might have, yeah.
And we've got a bit of a shared party tonight, and Berkey's here, the member for Watson.
Oh, Berkey. Oh, watch out for this cut. Oh,
yeah. See you at work tomorrow.
Keep that man away from the taps.
My
Bad note to be a frothy.
Labor caucus, which when you look at it across the benches, it's representative of the Australian people. I acknowledge all of our fantastic Labor candidates in every seat.
And even the shitty ones.
Put up their hand, gave up their time for our cause and their community. If you excuse me for singling out one of them, who ran for a third time in Dickson, Ailey France.
Ailey France never has to buy a drink ever again.
What Jim Chalmers just spent all the time on the ABC panel being like, I don't want to dance on anyone's political grave, whilst Albo's like,
So many of whom will be joining us as caucus members in Parliament. I want to thank the people of Grainler, most of whom are here tonight.
And they will fall in line. You are not allowed to have conscience votes.
I've got to say something. It was very special on the way here. There was obviously, I don't know whether there was a drone above us or what have you. My security team said, you know, maybe they're just out on the street. People don't just hang out on New Canterbury Road. And
yeah, it's fair.
Local reference.
From Lilyfield, Leichhardt, all the way here.
Lilyfield and Leichhardt, he might be near me. He might be in his electorate.
I'm sorry, but I won't be moving back for a little while. The people of Grainler did me an incredible honour in choosing me as their representatives 29 years and 10 elections ago.
Aww. Oh, I wasn't here then. All right. I thought you were thanking us for today.
I've lived in this community in the
I didn't
inner
put you
west my
first
whole
though,
life.
Albo. I'm sorry.
And it's an incredible privilege to serve a community that you love. And I do love it. To the Labor Party's heart and soul, our rank and file members and the mighty trade union movement of Australia.
Ooh.
Mighty Ducks. Not all of them, of course.
Yeah, I was going to say, except maybe the
Labor
crime.
Party will always stand up for jobs and people's wages and conditions.
And dumping suitcases outside of... We don't need to talk about it. It's fine. It's not
I have been through this campaign. Your energy, your enthusiasm, your dedication to the cause has lifted me up. You inspire all of us in your service of working people, and we thank you.
You are the wind beneath my wings.
To our magnificent campaign director, National Secretary Paul Erickson.
Man behind the memes.
P. Erickson is going off on social media. People love P. Erickson.
Paul has run an outstanding campaign. Paul and I did tell people May was the right time. And he managed to become a dad during the campaign.
P. Erickson's had a lot going on this last 6 months.
That's an insane 6 weeks.
Wow.
It was supported by an absolutely brilliant team. And all of those dedicated people own a part of this victory. And I thank you. To my personal staff, led by Tim Gartrell. The loyalty, the passion, the commitment that you showed. You have a tough job that you perform with grace, with humour, with joy, and just a passion for changing the country for the better. Thank you for what you do. To my son, Nathan. Who's grown into a fine young man who I am just so proud of. Thank you. And to my fiancée, Jodie Hayden.
It's like we're putting the wedding off for 3 more years. I'm sorry.
Jodie!
Probably wasn't expecting for this to be in your life half a dozen years ago. I am so grateful for your support, your friendship and your love. You make me so happy. Which matters. You have my heart, I love you, and I look forward to living our lives together.
Is someone shouting kiss down the back?
Kiss her!
Yeah, I thought I heard someone going, kiss, kiss. I'm like, all right.
My fellow
Let's calm down.
Australians have chosen the Australian Labor Party as their government. And our government will choose the Australian way.
Wind it up.
Because we are proud of who we are.
Can't wind up the
and
Prime
all
Minister,
that
mate.
we have built together in this country. We do not need to beg or borrow or copy from anywhere else.
Like America. Dutton, you
We do
fuck.
not seek our inspiration overseas. We find it right here in our values and in our people.
We have our own racism. We have our own. We have our own prejudices.
To your service. We renew the great responsibility and the opportunity of government. And with pride and purpose, optimism and determination, with faith in the fair go and faith in each other, we return to the work of building Australia's future. Thank you all.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. See you, mate. It's got big student theatre encore energy. And they go off,
It does,
and then
doesn't it?
people keep clapping, and you come back out, you do another bout.
Yeah. It's like, guys, there's only 6 people in the audience. You
And then we
just
go
need to stop
hand out to the backstage. Okay, hand out to the director.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
Hand out to the
he was
band.
enjoying that moment. You could tell the emotion was there. The message of unity was the theme throughout, coming together after a hard-fought campaign. But the celebration was clearly there as well. And this is
So I have those Senate numbers, Adam. You were asking before.
Yeah.
So
How bad is it?
Well, as the ABC's reporting, the AEC's website for like getting an idea of how the numbers for the Senate are going was very confusing. So I couldn't get that loaded up.
There's so many numbers. It's like
and just the way they've
49.
laid out the website, I couldn't just be like, show me the current results in the Senate. I'd have to go down to the person and then just see their numbers, and I don't know what counts as what. Anyway, so it's currently looking like with 14% counted, including incumbent senators, like ones that are just continuing on who weren't up for re-election, looking at a dead heat between numbers of Labor and Liberal senators.
Yep.
So 24 Labor, 24 Liberal, a Liberal National Coalition, sorry. 10 for the Greens. So they had 5 continuing. They've won one of their Senate seats and 4 more are likely.
The Greens do a lot better in the upper house because because they're statewide. So if you get 10 or 15% of the vote, you'll get like a number of seats, right? The problem with the Greens in the lower house is that it's harder to get that concentration of voters in one seat, but spread across the whole state. Obviously, you'll have have them, just spread out.
And so it means that check and balance of the Greens kind of being in there, that's where they can be more effective in a way.
They'll have supply. I'm not worried about it. If you got Labor and Greens in the Senate, like. It's about how progressive the policy is, which is where you want to be, right?
100%.
What that means, though, is all these election promises they've promised, you may not see half of them. Is what I'm getting at. Well, like half the stuff they've talked about, like they'll try and renegotiate on probably some of the Medicare stuff. They'll probably try and renegotiate on
the Greens, you mean?
Yeah, but it's only going to be more progressive than what Labor's promised. It's not going to be less than what Labor's promised. They're not going to be like, actually, can we not have any psychological services? Like,
could you make it worse?
Well, what I'm saying is they might block things entirely and then nothing happens.
And then nothing happens.
I mean, it's possible. I think, the expectation that I would have is that if that is the case, where the Greens are the primary sort of crossbench that they're negotiating with, it's going to be to make Labor's policies more progressive, not less. So the effect will be we'll push the policies through, we'll just have a bigger deficit. I think that's probably what will actually happen. It's just like, okay, we'll just do it bigger and the number on the sheet will be lower, right? Like,
I guess in that instance, it'll become a matter of either, are the Greens being assholes for trying to make something more progressive, or is Labor being assholes for not willing to compromise and settling with, let's not make Medicare better at all then. Fine, you can't have any of it.
So what I saw, having read the costings of both the Liberal and the Labor Party before they came to the election, the Liberals did not give me a lot of time to read their costings. I read them last night. Was it last night? What today's today? Saturday.
I think it was Thursday.
Thursday night when they came out. Yeah.
And it was immediately looking bad from my totally not understanding the funny money.
The Liberal costings were a joke and like immediately disproved a bunch of things that they said during the campaign, that the 41,000 public service sector cuts weren't actually cuts. They were just going to be natural attrition. We're just going to do a hiring freeze and those people will leave naturally of their own accord, but they're banking like billions of dollars in year one in savings from those measures that they were then spending on other things like the Clito, the cost of living tax offset. Things like that. So they had all these big short-term spending measures. It's like, well, where are you going to get the money for those things? It's like, well, obviously from the legions of public servants that you're going to fire, right? And then all of these things like the nuclear thing, 31 or was it 36 billion of dollars? $36 billion of it was on book, and then the rest was just moved into, what are they called? Off-budget measures, which is like off-budget is when you put something on the outside of the actual costings, because you go, okay, well, this thing, whatever we're putting money into, is going to return us money, and so it doesn't need to be factored into the cash balance of. But like, there's no plan that the Liberals had to like sell our interest in the nuclear plants and get that money back at some point. It was money that was just going to go out and never come back. So it's like, it was a completely disingenuous costing document. And
it was outside the costings because they hadn't costed it
because they couldn't they couldn't justify it. They're saying, we're going to save $170 billion, but it's like, but what about the $600 billion that's going out of the government coffers and never going back in? Like, it was just completely
I don't know.
Like, it was a dog's, as someone who studied in MBA and spent months looking at financial documents, I looked at it, I was like, this is a fucking dog's breakfast. I cannot believe that they released this. If this came out a week ago and we had the show on Sunday, this is all I would have talked about for the whole show was what a complete dog shit document this was, right?
And so in that case, I'm very happy that they released it with the last
That's why they left it with 2 days to go. But you looked at Labor's...
to get past you.
To the point that I was trying to say, so all of which is to get to Labor's costings. Labor's costings are pretty sensible. There's spending increases on particular programs. There's lots of stuff in there about, food pantry this and, funding for that and all that sort of stuff. But on the whole, it is a fairly, I don't want to say conservative, but it's a measured document, right? They had a budget event only whatever it was a month or two ago. They're not announcing a bunch of new spending promises. They are still trying to stay within the kind of like fiscally responsible sort of thing. To the extent to the Greens push them and make them more progressive, I think it's just going to be a case of them spending more on commitments that they're already wanting to do, right? So, but that's why that's rather than X amount of millions for this fund, like double it or triple it, or I also think the Greens know that like Labor's coming in with a pretty strong mandate, the strongest mandate that we've ever seen Labor come into a government with in our generation. They're projecting 86 seats for Labor in the lower house, right? So I think if the Greens are seen to be getting in the way of that progress, I think there's going to be a pretty significant backlash against them because they've got a mandate, they've got an agenda, they have won seats that no one thought that they would win this election cycle.
Could change in 12 months when people sort of forget, but
sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's probably the Liberal campaign is probably the worst political campaign in Australia I've seen.
I've seen ever. Yeah.
Like Anthony Albanese, and the other weird thing I thought was interesting was that Anthony Albanese is the first Prime Minister in 20 years to
have two terms.
Two terms.
Two terms back to back because he hasn't been knifed. Yeah, he's the first one.
And I find that crazy.
Like even
since K-Rudd.
Because I know, wouldn't it be
No, it's Howard.
Since Howard. Well, since
John
before
Howard,
K-Rudd was the first of the ones to get knifed in revolving door.
this is the first election we've participated in where a government has been voted in twice in a row.
It's insane. But yeah, I think I just can't believe though. Like this is the thing that I can't wrap my head around is how they fucked it so bad. The coalition.
Yeah, they fucked it real bad.
I don't understand how they could be that bad.
Because Adam, at the end of the day, Peter Dutton is an amoral, racist cunt.
But just
and people see that he's willing to say and do anything. He's making connections to Trump at a time where Trump is like historically unpopular for taking a chainsaw to the government and starting a global trade war / recession. And people go, well, why?
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, no, I don't want that. Thanks very much. And you can keep the racism as well.
Put Peter Dutton aside. They've had 3 years to come up with a set of policies.
Oh, I had this exact argument the other day where I was like, I said to my wife the other day, I was like, they've had 3 years. What is the IPA for? They've got all these fucking coal-funded think tanks that are meant to be feeding them policies. What have you been doing for 3 years? What the fuck have you guys been doing for the last 3 years in opposition, waiting for your chance, waiting for your moment to strike? And this is they come to with this $2 trillion nuclear boondoggle, and then Peter Dutton doesn't even go and visit any of the proposed sites of the nuclear because he knows people are going to be fucking rip shit about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't even, so it's like, so what you're proposing is like less popular than syphilis. Working, getting rid of working from home, getting rid of, and then flip-flopping on all of these issues. Like it is a textbook case of how not to run a campaign, right?
Yeah, they made a bunch of decisions around, these are the policies we have, whatever, there was like 8 of them or something.
I've been very clear about how fucking excellent I've been extremely clear about how fucking great the policies are.
People aren't fucking stupid. Like,
Apparently not. Or at least as not as stupid as we thought they were.
People realise that, like, they weren't sticking to a script. Like, it'll say what you want about Tony Abbott. He had a 6-point plan, and they fucking hammered the 6 points.
Boats. All Tony Abbott said for fucking 6 months was stop the boats. And it's a dumb message, and it's a bad message, and it's technically a message that violates human rights, but it is very simple. And that is something that the Australian public can get behind. And I think they were looking at Peter Dutton. And he goes, okay, 41,000 public service sector cuts. But so this is why they didn't release the costings. Is because when you look at the money, it tells you the truth of what's happening. So if you're forecasting billions of dollars in savings in year one, that means, based on public service sector cuts, that means when you say they're not cuts, it's natural attrition. We know you're lying, right? It is very obvious when you say, oh, we're going to bank $7 billion in year two. It's like, well, people aren't going to naturally just finish their jobs. Like, have you met people who work in the public sector? They'd stay in their jobs for more than a year or 2 years. They don't just randomly start quitting in the tens of thousands, right? So as soon as you start putting numbers to all of this stuff, people start to realize that you're lying to them. You're full of shit. Right? Yeah, and when they see those things stack up,
shit because he was flip flopping in front of people,
flip flopping. On the 41,000 public service sector cuts, he was flip flopping on the Indonesia thing, saying that they were going to put a military base there when they weren't. He was flip flopping on the working from home thing. Like, the whole campaign was run on grievous and animus. And, constantly flip-flopping, no fucking playbook. And then Dutton, when he gets backed into a corner, just becomes the cuntiest, worst version of himself and just reverts back to culture war issues, which is the least popular thing that he does. So it's like, yeah, there's no wonder. Like,
that concession speech he gave was probably the
most human I've ever seen him.
And he should have been doing that, like, from day one. I just don't understand. But like, the other thing,
you sound disappointed at him.
No, but I just don't understand it because, like, they've got so much money and lobbied interests behind them. They've got they'd have to have a marketing machine that's coming up with some of this.
Because it's a bunch of IPA, coal-funded, overpaid fucking consultants, and they're in a room, Adam, and they're huffing each other's farts and getting high on their own supply and listening to Peter Credlin, and Peter Credlin's feeding them their own farts back to them through Sky News. And they got high on their own supply, and you realize when it comes into contact with reality that a lot of this culture war grievance stuff doesn't actually resonate with the Australian public. This is not Tennessee. This is Australia. It is a different political set of circumstances.
Not yet. It's probably
no, and don't get me wrong. There is a solid half a dozen far right wing fringe fascist parties here in Australia, but they only collectively make up about 15% of the vote. And you're not going to win a majority of fucking shit with a preferential voting system that way. So I think it's just they're realizing that this far right culture war ideology is just not going to fly. The other thing is millennials are now the largest voting bloc in Australia, right? The boomers are, just like from a demographic standpoint, only going to get smaller and smaller and smaller from this point. And millennials as a generation are historically progressive and not getting conservative as they get older, as generations usually do. And that's for a number of reasons, things to do with housing. If you don't have a house and kids and all this sort of stuff, all of those things aren't as relevant. Anyway, let's go to Antony Green. He's got the nationwide primary vote. Let's have a look.
Where was that big wave that was going to sort of sweep the coalition in the government? It didn't happen. And in fact, they've gone backwards. They've gone backwards in Queensland. They've gone backwards in New South Wales. A huge double-digit swing in Tasmania. They've lost Sturt in South Australia at the moment. I haven't seen any big changes in Western Australia, but they've got a terribly low primary vote in Forest, so they'll probably hang on. Just all round, it's just a disastrous result, and it's one of Labor's biggest ever victories.
Yeah, I feel we should call it. We've drunk the LNP tears for the evening.
Dr. Vyom Sharma on Twitter says, "I hope one day I'll find someone who believes in me like James McGrath believes in pre-polls."
Good.
All right. Well, there you have it.
So the fucking has taken place, a red wave. I was thinking that Labor was going to win, but they might be maybe in a minority government. They might be able to eke out a majority government. I think they've been underestimated. They were underestimated last election cycle. They've been underestimated this election cycle. And whilst, there is a kind of flight from the two major parties in the terms of their primary vote, people are really comfortable with a left of center, kind of steady pair of hands in this current environment. And I think what the lesson that the Conservatives need to learn is, don't be a Trump humper, don't be a racist, don't be a cunt. And people in Australia will not vote for you if you are isolating and alienating major sectors of the community like that. Honestly, it's made me much more hopeful for the Australian electorate than I ever thought I would be. Yeah. Maybe it's just the rise of millennials as our generation is now calling more of the shots right? But I don't know. I was not expecting to see this kind of blowout. I can't imagine anyone was, right? I don't know about you guys, but
I think it's the Trump factor.
It's definitely part of it, for sure.
I think, well, that and they cooked the campaign in reaction to all of
it was a bad campaign. Yes, it was the Trump factor, but they also like leaned into the Trump stuff. It's not like Dutton kind of like leant away from it and said like,
no, they were leading from it.
They were leading from like that culture war conservative kind of shit.
4 months ago when Trump got in, like Dutton was leading with that. And then
February, they were winning with that, right? Like this 9 weeks ago, they were winning, right?
So I don't know whether that's people actually, whether, you know, for like 2.5 of the 3-year term, we sort of go into our cynical selves and sort of whinge about things, and then when push comes to shove, we go, actually,
that Dutton guy seems like a piece of shit. I don't know if I want that.
About that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I imagine it's kind of like what happened in Victoria. Like, you know, Labor got elected again. The state government in Victoria, Labor got huge, you know, they've had a huge lead for years, the state government of Victoria. But everyone keeps talking about the Victorian state government like they're the most unpopular government in history. So I guess the point being is that, like, you can get elected with a massive swing, but like that could change in 3 months, less than that, and it could stick.
Yeah, and individual candidate quality matters as well. Like, we talked about Amelia Harmer in Kooyong. Like, I think a better quality candidate might have been able to swing that back to the Liberals, right? As you said, they spent a shitload of money on it. But, you know,
volunteers were everywhere.
She's young, she's blonde, she's like a new, fresh-faced kind of like young conservative kind of thing that you could see them trying to make inroads with that kind of like blue ribbon Liberal seat, right?
Let's appeal to the women, like, you know.
Right, but you know, she lied about being a renter, and she has two investment properties, one in Australia, one in London. She's a beneficiary of a trust. Like, there was another one. There was that Asian guy whose like wife had a bunch of scandals. Like, they're on there was a big swing to Labor nationally, right? But there was also the LNP candidates that they put forward on a number of seats individually were also just kind of pieces of shit, which didn't help either. So, you know, I think the Liberal Party is going to have a real soul searching, real reflection to be like.
We said this last election, and they didn't.
And then they elected Peter Dutton. So I think the thing to watch out for is who do they go with as the new leader next? Because if it's another like far right wing reactionary shithead, you can say, okay, well, basically they're just doubling down on this, and they're just kind of they're going to try and squeeze the juice from as many boomers as they can before they die, and then just go out in a blaze of glory. Or, you know, maybe they put forward someone who's, you know, a little bit more, you know, Julie Bishopy rather than Peter Dutton.
Yeah, she goes. I don't know.
You know, like, and the problem is, considering the wipeout they've just had, their bench of talent is not very deep, and it's mostly full of right wingers. So I think what we're seeing is the beginning of the coalition basically making themselves irrelevant. I don't see them coming back, and maybe in 10, 20 years, the elections that we'll be having will be around the two major parties being Labor and the Greens, rather than, and the coalition will just be another far right family first, one nation type party that just kind of sits on the fringes and throws bombs and doesn't really do much of anything. I don't know. Like, I don't see how they come back from this unless they change.
Labor came back from this in 2014. So like,
but Labor changed the way that when they got smashed in 2019 with Bill Shorten and negative gearing and capital gains and all those sorts of issues. They said, okay, well, we need to come back to the center. We need to get back to basics. It needs to be bread and butter, cost of living issues, like all that sort of shit. And we're going to be a center, maybe center-left party. And that's how they came back from the political wilderness. I don't see the coalition in its current iteration going, oh, we need to be more of a centrist bread and butter. I just don't see it happening. It's just full of extremists.
You don't see the ideology changing.
I don't see it.
Hell no. Yeah.
Because they had a shellacking last time, and they've had an even bigger shellacking this time. And I don't see them going, oh, we've learned our lesson, we've listened, we've learned, and we've acted, and we're going to be more of a centrist. They've abandoned those principles of like a centrist liberal, like you looked at the budget that they put out for the first 2 years, for the costings for their policies. For the first 2 years, their deficit was worse than Labor's. Right, this is the party that's meant to be about fiscal responsibility, and this is how good we are. We're going to take the reins. We're going to economic management and strong on the military and all this sort of stuff. And they were worse on all the things that they're meant to be better on than Labor. So it's like, where do you get? How can you possibly come back from that when it's just they've been so intellectually lazy for so long. I just don't see there being some kind of like liberal
renaissance of ideas.
Renaissance, yeah, exactly. I just don't see it happening. I see them doubling down on this.
What could happen is that Labor screw the pooch and start stabbing each other in the back again, which is what happened with the Rod Gillard situation, and then you end up with another Tony Abbott situation. Everyone just reacts to it and picks the other guy.
Yeah, I guess you would require a Labor implosion for them to return to power anytime soon, right? It doesn't require that, like anything that the Liberals could offer within 3 years. I just don't think would just not be compelling, right? And it really
never
takes
never say never, George.
Never say never.
I know within one election cycle, things can change drastically. Events, global events, economy. You get a recession in there, all of a sudden everyone starts questioning their priors. But like, based on the current where the demographics are headed. And based on where the politics of the coalition is headed, I'm not saying they won't change, but they need to change a lot if they want to be in a serious contention for major two-party politics, right?
Yeah, 100%. They're not going to win back all these teal seats by just like,
And the problem is the fact that they haven't won the back after one term means they're getting more entrenched. Like you heard one of the commentators saying there, the Teals were winning a lot of these seats from second place based on preference flows.
Now
this time round, they're winning them in first place. They're just getting the most primary votes compared to all of the other candidates. And so once you get incumbents that are in their 1, 2, 3 terms and they're delivering for their electorates and people see that and they like that, it gets increasingly harder to dislodge them as time goes on, which is why they put up such a fight in Kooyong, right? Is because they wanted to dislodge Monique Ryan after a single term. Well, they're not going to. They haven't. So she's going to be there for the rest of her fucking political career now, as far as I can tell, right? That's her electorate. She's pissed all over it. It's hers. So for them to dislodge her at this point is now even harder to do next time around. So I just don't see it. I don't see a come to Jesus moment for the coalition where they're going to, put forward a nice Julie Bishop, I just don't see it. It's going to be Angus Taylor and it's going to be division and fucking culture war bullshit going forward.
Yeah, no, they'll come to Jesus, but they'll come to Jesus in like the Southern American evangelical
Righteous Gemstones Jesus
extremist sense. Yeah. They'll come to Jesus and go, yes, everyone should have guns and we should get rid of it, all the Browns.
Yeah.
Of course, you're right. The things Jesus stood for.
Yes.
Woke socialist Jesus.
Yeah.
It looks like a quote from Antony Green, it's one of Labor's biggest ever victories. I think I saw Barry Cassidy say it's, quote, without a shadow of a doubt, this will be the Liberal Party's worst result since Menzies formed the party. Yeah, that's
ouch.
That's a kick in the guts.
And it's when Dutton was the leader. Ha ha. I'm just gonna love that for the rest of my life.
It's a perfect storm. Like, Dutton was uniquely unpopular as a figure, like the Dutton cunt effect, as we've talked about. There's all this Trump stuff that happening at the same time. Labor was starting to turn the corner on the economy and interest rates coming down. People starting to see that. Labor ran a great campaign. The coalition ran a shit campaign. Like it is a confluence of a lot of different factors, a lot of which are outside of Labor's control, right? But the demographics, the way things are headed, like the Liberal Party needs to make serious change if they want to be in serious contention next time around. And I just don't see how they're going to do it.
Or they can just keep doing what they're doing, actually.
You know what? Stick with your guns, guys. Great. Believe in yourself and really just, I reckon, Peter, stick around, buddy. Have another crack, you can do it.
Keep doing it.
You can
Keep
do
doing it. If it keeps you out of power forever, I'm happy.
You know, they say if you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. And as long as I see a sea of red behind this journalist on the on the panel, then I'm a happy boy. But look, maybe hopefully it means we get, Labor feels like they've got a mandate this time around. They can be a bit more bold and progressive with their policies. I would like that personally, especially with regards to acting on climate change and student debt and things like that.
I'll believe it when I see it.
It'd be nice. I'd like to see them go, okay, well, we've fucking swept the board. Like, let's have some balls. Let's have the courage of our convictions and start making some big changes. Because I think that's what people want to see. They just didn't want to see the big changes that Peter Dutton was going to put forward.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on the bullshit social medias. All the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. I forget where I am. Make sure you follow me at George Sipos on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky.
You can follow me on Instagram at tom.heath.
And you can follow me down to the pool of liberal tears that
we'll be bathing in.
Yeah, just going to just swimming in that.
Diving in like Daffy Duck.
And that's liberal with a small L?
Capital
big
L.
L. I forget which one. Capital L, big L liberal.
Yeah.
Because I am a small L liberal.
Small L liberal, yeah. So we here on Unnatural Selection, we represent the entire spectrum of political views from centre left to far left. So you can be sure that you're getting the best of information here from us.
Diversified.
Diversification is the key to success. Just ask Peter Dutton. Thanks for listening, guys. I love your faces. I can't believe he lost Dickson. What a fucking Christmas present. I can't believe he got unseated from his own seat. What a prick.
We're all having great dreams tonight.
You love to see it. Wet fucking dreams. Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. I'll see you next time. I'm rock hard.